This video is supported by Profit Accumulator. Profit Accumulator helps you to earn extra money by doing something called match betting. Match betting isn't gambling. And when you do it properly, and I mean properly, you can't lose. Now you always see these promotions by bookmakers like Ladbrokes, William Hill's, Corals, offering a £50 bonus to customers. So you sign up and you might place a £50 bet on a coin toss landing on heads and a £50 bet on the same coin toss landing on tails. Now whichever way it lands, it don't matter because you won't win or lose any money because you've covered all of the outcomes. However, you get the £50 bonus, so you're still £50 up. Now lots of people try to do match betting on their own, but it's very time consuming and not always easy if you don't know what you're doing. That's where Profit Accumulator come in. Even if you don't know anything about sports, they walk you through everything step by step, showing you how to accumulate money into your bank account. So get involved right now. Click the link in the description and sign up to Profit Accumulator right now.
Hi and welcome to AFTV. You have tuned into the stats review show of the Crystal Palace game where unfortunately it was a draw. This video is sponsored by Profit Accumulator. If you want to find out more on how to earn some extra money during this time, click the link in the description. But before we begin, I'm going to bring up my guy, James B. How are you, James?
Bit flat. Like the performance yesterday, really. How about you?
Yeah, same. I think, you know what? I'm consistent with the feeling of when the team came out, I started feeling nervous, and that kind of felt right. That feeling, I guess we got it right because we didn't really see much. We had a lot of questions from the team that I put out, and yeah, it kind of was answered when we was watching.
Anyone who was watching the watch along, or especially that starting 11 show, knows that the minute the 11 came out, me and you weren't confident. We really weren't, you know, and we're not. This isn't hindsight. Oh, I was never confident. No, we genuinely said at the time, I don't feel good about this, Robbie. And that seems a good place to start. Should we have a little look at the 11 and maybe explain why we were so nervous?
Let's get into it.
Let's have a little look. Now, obviously, the big shock was that Mari wasn't in. Turns out he's got a tight calf. It was quite funny listening to Lee make the point that, obviously, if he played, that would have been just shy of £1 million going to Flamengo, the club we bought him from. I mean, God, it is a horrible coincidence, isn't it? But and then the fact that Tierney was out injured, we don't really know what's going on there either. To Maitland-Niles had to step in with, obviously, Kolasinac having completed his loan. So that was sort of, I mean, that was an early frustration. What was it that worried you so much about it, Cecil?
Do you know what? It was, like you said, having Tierney out, which I think everyone was worried about. But obviously, he's injured, so we can't help that. That was one start of the problem. I wanted Partey to start, I'm going to be honest. I'm not going to take away from the players like Ceballos and Xhaka. I think Xhaka defensively was really played really well yesterday, so big up to him, but there were still inconsistent moments, and Ceballos actually had an okay game as well, but got taken off. I just want to see Partey to start, and we spoke about Gabriel potentially starting, and I'm not saying the defenders had a bad game because they didn't concede, so we can't really get
and actually worth saying that Luiz and Holding I thought were our two best players.
Yes. Yeah, I agree. I think Luiz was definitely man of the match for me yesterday, so I can't get too much onto that. I did want Gabriel to start, but it is what it is. I just feel like a famous quote you would probably say is we was toothless going up the left side. So
the left wing was out where I was most worried. If I just bring it up again, one of the things we've done so well in attack is get Bellerin forward down the right, but especially down the left with what Tierney's been doing, marauding up and down. Now I know Tierney's he's quality. He's quality. I think a lot of people already think he's a world-class left back, and to be honest, he's delivering that level of performance at the moment. But when you lose him and you look at what's left, now I got a bit of flack for saying that I was disappointed we lost Kolasinac. Not necessarily disappointed, but it did cross my mind. Who's the cover if Tierney's not available? Because Kolasinac is nowhere near as good as Tierney, and he's probably not good enough for Arsenal Football Club. But at least he's someone who's got a bit of power and presence down the left. He's got a left foot and he can get to the byline and try to dig out across. Now, he doesn't do it even a quarter as well as Tierney does, but at least he can do it. And Maitland-Niles isn't that profile of player. And how many times have we spoken about profile of player? Oh, I'm not.
Yeah.
You know, when I was calling for Smith Rowe, it wasn't because I knew Smith Rowe was some world beater. It's because at least I knew he was a number 10, which we didn't have in the team. And I felt what we did was we went away from our principles yesterday by trying to force Aubameyang and Maitland-Niles into those positions. Now, I know against West Brom we got away with it with Aubameyang on the left, but he doesn't have the creativity that a Martinelli does. And so people were saying to me on Twitter, well, what would you like Arteta to do differently? These changes were forced on him. I agree, but having a look here again, Luis coming in, look, Luis did very well, so I'm not going to complain, and I kind of get it. Yes, I probably would have started Gabriel, left-footed centre-back, playing out the back, but cool, whatever, Luis did fine. At left-back, it doesn't sound great, but I either would have put Saka at left-back and basically sacrificed something in that front three to front four-ish, because it's not like we didn't win the FA Cup with Pepe on the right wing, I know he's struggling for form, and I know I'm a big critic of his, but I'd rather do that than force someone at left back who's not comfortable there. Or if you really want to play Maitland-Niles at left back because you don't want to compromise Saka on the right wing, then you can put Pepe on the left wing, and at least you've got some left-footed nature, someone who can swing in a ball, someone who could do something from that area. So I know we're spending a lot of time on this starting 11 thing because, to be honest, there is absolutely nothing else to talk about for the rest of the game.
It's very true.
But I just think you needed someone who's an outlet down there who can maraud down the left and dominate that left-hand side, both from a creative front, from an up and down sense, everything you want from your sort of left winger, whether that comes from your left back or your left forward. And I felt you didn't have any of that in Maitland-Niles and Aubameyang. And I really I hate to do the whole, I called it, but I mean, me and you in the starting 11 show, we called it. We immediately went, this is my worry. And Robbie throughout the whole show was going, that's what Jay, every time Maitland-Niles misplaced a cross, he's going, that's what you boys were saying. That's what you guys were worried about.
And again, he was saying as well, Rob was like, we have depth and we have strength off the bench. And I was like, are you sure? And he was like, of course we do. And then he named like 2 players, and the 2 players he named came on and they didn't really do much.
I get what he was saying though. I get what he said. We had quality on the bench to come on.
Yeah, he's saying in center. Okay, yeah. He said out of like, I don't know how many were on the bench. I think 6, maybe
9.
7, 9. So he said 3 players out of 9, 1/3. I mean, that doesn't scream to me strength and depth. And if I'm honest, they came on, and they didn't do loads. But do you know what? It is frustrating. I also there's other things I would have added in. I have to stick to this now. I don't have to stick to this narrative. I can change my opinion and if I need to, and I will happily do that. But I still stick to the narrative of Balogun. I wanted him to be shown that he's appreciated in the club. He should have been on the bench, and he could have come on and maybe done something. But that obviously is hypotheticals. People will be like, no, he wouldn't have done anything to the game. But I really feel like he could have offered something and he could have saved us down that left side. But
fair enough. I mean, look, if you're disappointed in the 11 and the squad chosen and you think Balogun should be in that's completely fair enough. I mean, cool. That's completely your opinion, totally fair enough. I've got to be honest, that wasn't really on my mind at the time. But you make a really good point about depth. You're right. Arteta was saying in his post-match about sort of tiredness and, it wasn't fresh. And I know exactly what he means, actually. It wasn't fresh.
Yeah.
And this was meant to be like our new solution. It's already gone a little stale. And that's because you need to be able to bring in someone for Smith Rowe every now and again, someone for Saka every now and again. Aubameyang on the left just doesn't really fit. So, again, apologies, guys. I know we spent a lot of time talking about the starting 11, but I think the reason normally we do a show, sometimes we talk too much about something and we'll chat about it later. We'll go, maybe we
pushed on.
But no, I don't. I think we absolutely are right to hone in on this because, again, and I really, genuinely, anyone who knows me knows I don't like to do the whole, I told you so, blah, blah, blah. But I really was worried from the start. And this is exactly why. And I just want to relay to people why it was what it was I kind of felt at the time. And unfortunately, and I want to be proven wrong, but irritatingly, it did pan out exactly as me, you, Lee was saying it too, as we expected in the match. So
100%.
And how can we see that, but Arteta can't? Do you know what I mean?
That's what's
That's
frustrating.
why we're talking about this. We're not just sitting there going, well done us. Like, this is the big question. How can we spot that deficiency in our team, but Arteta can't?
That is
weird.
That's my last thing on this as well. Is I was saying as I was heavily focusing on what Arteta does in this game, because he would have to have dropped people to beat Palace, and because he had to play something different. I don't think it would have worked if he stuck to what was broken, don't fix it sort of strategy. And he made his changes, and just it wasn't good enough in my opinion. But
forced changes, but for me, the wrong solutions.
Correct.
Right, so I can't blame him for the changes, but I felt his attempts to address them were wrong. Now, this is a stat show, so let's go through some more stats.
Yeah, let's go forward. Thank you for staying with us, people.
No. So yeah, the match stats, right? So obviously we had 11 shots there, 12. I don't want to focus on this too much. I really want to break it down half by half, but you can have a quick look there. We had more possession, we had more passes, they had a better XG. I mean, that's just really disappointing. So if you look at the first half, I mean, to be honest, I didn't even think we played that badly. Really, we were. Obviously we were outshot, and they had the better chances. I mean, sorry, what am I talking about? Of course we played badly, but what I mean is, in terms of our approach play, we had more possession, we were picking about with a bit of pace, but we were just toothless. There was just absolutely nothing. How do I put it? We had the ball, and we looked quite fancy and pretty on the ball, but we really didn't do anything with it. And Leno saved us once again, didn't he?
Yeah, he did. He really did, James. That header from Benteke, and amazing save from Leno. A lot of people gave him man of the match as well, actually, yesterday when I was speaking to them. But
fair enough.
It just, which was a fair point, but it wasn't. It was uninspiring, is the word I want to use. I think throughout the first half. And I remember saying at halftime when Robbie was doing the stats, and we had more possession, but they had more shots than us on target and had more shots in general. It's just like, we're really good at doing passes and going sideways and keeping the ball, but we really don't penetrate. We don't do enough.
And we have become better at keeping possession. I actually do believe that. Whether it's because the teams are conceding it to us or whatever, I do think we're better, but we're just not doing enough with it. And then you move on to the second half, where there was quite a drastic change. We had 9 shots to their 3, 2 on target. So again, we were having more efforts. I've got to be honest, I cannot for the life of me remember 9 shots in the second half. Apparently we did. We obviously had more possession, more passes again, shots in the box, 4 to their 2. I've got to say, and actually, let me just go back to that first half for a second. They had 6 shots in our box. 6. I mean, for all the possession we had, we got outshot in the box 6-1. And then I'm just taking it back to the second half. Sorry for jumping around again, but I thought it's very important. We did have 4 in the box, but again, were they good? I don't remember us really doing anything with it. And I'm sorry, I just found, again, very toothless, very lacking in any cutting edge, very dry. Do you know what I mean?
I remember thinking
more.
Same, James. And do you know what? I remember thinking, right? If Benteke was clinical, we would a lot of teams, not even just us, they'll be in a lot of problems. If Benteke could stick that ball in the back of the net, I know that sounds, I'm not even coming for him, because I actually think he's a good player, and what he plays to his strengths, and he does it really well, holding off a man. He brought in Zaha at one point when he diagged it to him, and I was like, wow, yeah, he's good at what he does. But if he could finish clinically, honestly, would have been in problems. And that stat shows it there, six in a box, and I'm sure many of them were from him, if I'm completely honest.
Yeah, there was one he skied. I think Tompkins had one hit the crossbar. Then there was the header from Leno. I also want to say, actually, on that second half, I know we touched on Holding and Louise and how good they were, and I'm glad we did, but really major credit to them for the way they handled the counterattacks in the second half. Everything that came towards Zaha, Benteke, Towns, or whatever, they dealt with it brilliantly. I felt the one-on-one defending, the way they nicked the ball, even Granit Xhaka, who... I'm going to give a word on Granit Xhaka while we're on it. Obviously, by the way, some people might have noticed, some people might not. Obviously, I didn't get to do a fan cam yesterday. It's just a technical issue and scheduling issue, but it's all good. We're here to give my opinions on this review show. But for me, Granit Xhaka, a lot of people were saying he was brilliant, and then Turkish said in his post-match, and I agree with Turkish, that he was poor. Now, sorry, I say I agree. I don't think he was poor, but I'm with him in thinking, what was so special? Yeah, he made some really good tackles. He made some really good interceptions. He also lost the ball a lot. He also didn't help us progress up the pitch much. He also contributed to nothing going forward. Defensively was good, but he had some of his Xhaka-isms as well. And if we're saying that's a good performance, then our standards for midfield as Arsenal fans has dropped dramatically. I'm used to seeing Cazorla, Fabregas, Wilshere, Ozil, Hleb, Rosicky. I know he wasn't that mold of player, fine, but even in those deeper positions, I've seen players who were safer with the ball. Alex Song, for example, genuinely, I thought Alex Song was a better player than Xhaka.
Yeah, I can agree with that.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Wilshere, when he played as a deeper player. So I'm not trying to Xhaka bash. I thought he had an okay game. I thought he did some really, really good things. Yeah, sorry. I thought he did some really good things for sure. But this idea that he was great yesterday, I'm just not on board with.
Okay.
Maybe I'm being harsh, but I just wanted to get that in. But as a whole, as a defensive unit, I will credit Luis Holding, Xhaka as well. I thought from a defensive perspective did do very well, and Ceballos. I thought getting around, trying to get stuck in. Credit to them for that. I'll credit.
Do we look for Xhaka to do the forward? I'm playing devil's advocate. Do we look for him to do the forward stuff?
One thing, right, that we were all so complimentary of was his forward passing against Chelsea.
Came on, yeah. Okay, fair.
How much he was getting us up the pitch, finding those passes. Now, in fairness, we didn't have Tierney, so that pass wasn't always on. I get that. We didn't have Martinelli, who comes short more. So there's other factors. Of course, there's other factors that play into it. But I can't sit here and go, I'm so pleased with Granit Xhaka. He was playing as the box-to-box against Chelsea, threading all these lovely passes, dictating our play. And then against Palace go, oh, well, defensively, it was really good. I'm like, well, great. But I wasn't worried about our defense. I was worried about us scoring a goal. We needed to score a goal. And that's when the onus was on our midfield to try and help make that happen. And the forwards, Aubameyang was really poor, I thought. Pepe had no impact. Lacazette struggled. Smith Rowe was iffy. And we're going to go into them next.
Yeah.
But, we drew 0-0 at home to Palace. I'm meant to be happy with our midfield for their defensive contribution. I'll acknowledge it, but I'm not, singing their praises for it.
Okay, right. Well, thank you for that. Let's move on now because we mentioned it just then, James. Smith Rowe and Lacazette, and I'm gonna just quickly before we go into Smith Rowe and Lacazette, just speak on Aubameyang because I feel people say about me, I get onto Pepe a lot, and when he came on, and I feel like, well, when the subs come on, they didn't do too much, and people always say you have a Pepe agenda, and it's give him time and whatnot, and I feel like I've given him enough time, but I'm not gonna say nothing on Pepe. I'm gonna move to Aubameyang and just say Aubameyang did as much or as little as Pepe, so I can't be angry at players that come on. Well, I don't think we had a great game in. The players had an amazing game, but I'm saying Aubameyang has to take a look at himself. I think after yesterday, he had moments, but
he did have good moments. I think he had some good moments.
He did, but I've criticised players that have moments and still aren't to the level. Like I expect more from them. I expect more from Aubameyang, and yeah, man, I think he might need to just take some time on the bench, maybe, or I don't know. I feel there's something's not working there. I think Martinelli not being available.
He doesn't look comfortable right now.
Yeah,
he doesn't look comfortable.
Agreed. Right. But Lacazette and Smith Rowe. So I just wanted to get
that. Yeah, no, I agree, and that plays into that plays into this bit actually. I thought this was quite interesting. I was looking for something to prove that Smith Rowe and Lacazette were struggling to get involved and have an impact. And actually, what I found was the stat that didn't quite tell us this, but maybe told us something else. So having a look at this graphic here, what I'm basically highlighting is how many passes Smith Rowe received from the other midfield and forwards, and how many passes Lacazette received from the other midfield and forwards. Now, ESR got 5 passes from Ceballos, Xhaka, Aubameyang, Saka, which actually they're decent numbers. You can see he was trying to get on the ball. He was trying to give it and go, get into spaces. I actually thought Smith Rowe, though he had little impact in terms of creating big chances, assists and goals, I felt his movement in terms of pulling out wide, running and beyond, trying to make things happen, was actually as good as it has been in the other games. I think just that sort of thing goes unnoticed because it's not very glamorous, let's be honest. But then Lacazette, look at that. Received 4 passes from Saka, fair enough. But he didn't get a single pass from Smith Rowe. Yeah. He only got 2 from Aubameyang, not a single one from Xhaka, which is part of what I was saying. He didn't pass a single ball into our striker. I'm not saying that's necessarily all his fault. I think Lacazette struggled yesterday. And you only got 1 from Ceballos. That's a little worrying for me. And when I compare it to the exact same front 6 that played against West Brom, if I just bring it up here, okay, Smith Rowe's getting it more from Saka, but on the whole, there's not much in it. He's got it less from Ceballos, less from Xhaka, less from Aubameyang, but he has got it more from Lacazette. But if you look at Lacazette as well, did at least get 1 pass from Smith Rowe, but he's getting more from Saka, Aubameyang, Xhaka, and Ceballos. And but the point is, our striker was more involved. He was receiving more passes, and that
it's
doesn't
more
even
evenly spread.
that it's much more evenly spread. That doesn't even touch on what he was getting from Tierney and Bellerin and stuff. And so I just thought, while there's not a lot in it, I think what it highlights more than anything is that, you know what, Smith Rowe was trying, I think, but struggled. I'm not saying Lacazette wasn't trying, but the supply was much more non-existent, and that is slightly worrying. I think when Lacazette was struggling back in the autumn, it wasn't just the chances missed. We kept talking about how little he was linking with the players around him, and that was really frustrating. We wondered why he didn't have the support. Those stats from yesterday's game kind of revert a little bit back to that. But what I will say is, it's one game. He's been in amazing form. Back our man. I'm sure he'll be back on it. Palace are a difficult team. They play a low block. It is tough. He didn't have the usual supply of Tierney. I get all these things, and I'll give him the benefit of the doubt. But it was a poor performance from our number 9, I thought.
Okay, listen, James, thank you for breaking it down for us and showing us those stats, and hopefully things progress in our next match, because we have Newcastle, and what I want to say here is they're going to play the same sort of style to what Palace done, but so it's going to be tough to break down, but hopefully we have the answers this time on Monday. But thank you everyone for watching and staying tuned, and yeah, we'll see you soon.